The power of the dark side, 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 side.
What's up, YouTube? This is Matt here with Team S.I.T.H, aka Team Side in the Hate, with my Mermail regional top deck profile. So over the weekend I went to Hawaii's regionals and I topped with Mermails. I played a few rogue decks, but once I started getting in to the second half of the regional event, I started getting into the more meta decks. So let's get started with this deck profile. So I run 3 Abyss Megalo. You kind of have to run 3 of these as it's pretty much like your big monster. Like every deck has a big monster, and this is Mermail's. It's it sets up so many plays just because you have to pitch 2 water monsters, and if you don't know how this deck runs, well, most of the deck you want to be pitching your water monsters either by sending it from your hand to the graveyard or your deck to the graveyard, and it just sets up crazy plays. It allows you to search an Abyss spell or trap cards, so S.I.T.H or Mizuchi or Abyss Sphere, and then on top of that you could pop one of your water monsters on the field and you can attack twice. This came in clutch, especially with the Abyss Scales against, well, not really Monarchs necessarily, but every other deck I played, it was pretty good. I run 3 Abysstius. This deck helps you set up your hand loop by being able to pitch a Dragoons, but other than that, you really only use it to search Gundy or Abyss Spike to be able to send something from your hand to the graveyard. Most of the time, you're going to search Gundy and you're going to pitch Gundy with Megalo, so you can summon back another Mermail monster. So you'd actually pitch Gundy and one other Mermail to be able to summon a Megalo plus one other Mermail on top of the S.I.T.H. One Abyss Lind, 1 Abyss Lead, 1 Abyss Spike, 1 Abyss Gund, and 1 Abyss Turge. These are all my one-ofs for the Mermails. So basically, like, you never want to open up this card. You never want to draw this card. 9 times out of 10, you really want to be able to summon this card using the effect of Abyss Sphere, which we'll get to later. But basically, when this card is sent to the graveyard, you can summon back, or you can summon a Mermail monster from your deck. So most of the time, I guess people have told me I do a weird play where I'll summon Megalo just because I can, but I do it just basically because if I see that I have some potential for a next turn win, I'm gonna summon my big monster instead of like Abyss Spike or Abyss Surge. I'll go into Abyss Turge if I need to get something back, but we'll get into that later. Abyss Lead, it's just a 2700 beater, and you could take 1 card out of your opponent's hand, which is always good, especially turn 1. There's this crazy hand loop. There's 2 crazy hand loops I know, actually, and I'll go over it at the end. Mermail Abyss Spike, it lets you send one from your hand to the graveyard, a water monster, to add a level 3 water monster from your deck to your hand. And since I run the Genex Undyne engine, if I didn't draw into a Neptibus, this is my go-to. Especially if I have a S.I.T.H in hand, this is my go-to. Just because I'll be able to get a potential Neptibus basically in my hand as long as I didn't draw Genex controller. Abyss Gundy, when she's discarded, whether it's by a monster effect or Twin Twister or whatever, you can special summon a Mermail monster from your graveyard. So this card comes in clutch, like super clutch, when you have a Megalo in hand and you have already had a Megalo destroyed or something. Like, this is a game-winning card. I run 1 Abyss Turge. It's like an iffy card for me, especially if you run out of targets for Neptibus. Mainly, I'll get back Neptibus and Diva, but I kind of try to play it by ear. But you can discard 1 water monster to add a level 3 or lower water monster from your graveyard to your hand. So like I said, normally I'll add Diva or Neptibus, but these are basically, this is my Mermail core, my Mermail engine right here. So moving on, we'll get to the Atlanteans. I run 3 of the Prince. The fact that you can activate this card as a cost, like, I had 2 people over the weekend effect Veiler this, and once I activated their effect, they were like, oh, you can't activate it. I was like, no, I can. It's a cost to activate. So I'd send Dragoons. I just wouldn't get to add, but I would get Dragoon's effect to add. So this card is super, super broken. And then when it's destroyed by a water monster effect, you can special summon an Atlantean from your graveyard. So depending on if they did failure this, I would either summon Dragoons back, and as long as I had a Megalo, that's game, if they didn't have anything on the field. And if I had one Dragoons in deck, I'd summon a Marksman, and then Marksman would attack, and I'd be able to summon a Dragoons after that. I ran 3 Atlantean Marksmen. I just figured with all the back row, I figured I'd probably get Solemn Striked or Solemn Warninged when I revealed my Megalo or my Teus, and I'd pitch this. So if they had 2 back row, like, it was a plus for me because I'd bait out their back row, and then I'd pop their other back row. This card definitely did come in handy, and I guess it's either you're going to play 2 Marksmen or you're going to play 2 Heavy Infantry. So I decided to play 3 Marksmen instead, just because I liked how the effects work and I liked what his extra effect was. Yeah, pretty good card. I like it. I ran 2 Atlantean Dragoons. This card should literally never go back to 3. This card is way too broken. The fact that you can recycle this card as many times as possible and get its effect each and every time is super broken for this deck. Like, Instant Fusion and Ineptibus is a game-winning, like, it's a two card game winner, because you're gonna go into Dweller and then all your monsters can be buffed 5, and you get 2 searches, possibly 3 searches off of just 1 card. Super broken, great card. Its other effect that a lot of people actually don't know, that I actually found out over the week and a lot of people didn't know, is that if you control a level 3 or lower Sea Serpent type monster, you can attack them directly. So that's pretty cool. Or you can attack them directly with that Sea Serpent monster. I run 2 Heavy Infantry. Just because a lot of things can't be targeted right now, I thought that it would be better to be able to pop back row than face ups. The only thing that I really found myself blowing up was either like March of the Monarchs, or trying to get, if they didn't have March up, I'd pop like one of the bigger guys. Couldn't really do much with Cosmos, but this is really good for baiting out Cosmos, because you know they're going to have a big ship more than likely in hand, so you're going to send this and you're going to try to pop their pilot, and they're going to probably chain anything, and that's how you, if you're going to beat Cosmos, that's how I do it. If I go against Cosmos, is I just bait them out with this card. Super good card. It also allows you to special summon again, or normal summon again. So if you went, if you summon Diva, and then Diva effect to summon this guy, and you have a Neptibus in hand, then you get a double summon. So you get a Diva, Infantry, and a Neptibus. So pretty cool. That's it for my Atlanteans. But like I said, I do play the Genex Undyne engine, and my ratio is 3 Undynes to 1 controller. I don't know. I just think that this card doesn't really hurt anything. More, it's this card that can hurt it. This is like my bad luck card. Like, I don't know why, but I always draw this one of compared to all of my other one ofs. But Genex Undyne, just having it in the deck makes it another Neptibus, because you're gonna send his cost even if they effect Veiler this, and you're gonna be able to send your Dragoons to get your plays going. Like, it's not as good as Neptibus, but I'd rather have this and not need it than need it and not have it. I play 1 Deep Sea Diva. This card, it is a sad day when you effect Veiler this card. Like, you get stuck in such a bad position if you don't have any other plays other than this. But when you can get it off, when they don't have an effect Veiler or Forbidden Chalice or anything like that, this card is broken. Just being able to synchro for whatever you want, like Trish in this deck is super broken. Unfortunately, I only Trished once, but that card came in clutch my very first game against PK Fire. I was able to banish their Dante, and it was actually a game changer. I really think that Diva, I think Diva should go to 2. It's like, if you effect Veiler, it stops the play completely. I play 1 Mulan Glacia. This card is definitely a game-winning card. Being able to take 2 cards out of their hand, on top of Abyss Lead taking 1 more card, and if you're able to get the hand loop off with Diva and Trishula, taking 4 cards out of your opponent's hand in 1 turn is just super broken, and there's not really much they could do to come back from that, especially with an OTK deck. The only downside to this card that I found is that if they get rid of this card or this card leaves your field, you can't attack. So that's kind of a downside for this card, but all in all, I did put this in within the last couple weeks when I was playtesting, and I guess I like it. I guess it's okay. I play 1 Gamma Seal. This actually threw a couple people off when I had this. I played 1 Cosmo player, and I did this against this Tin Can, and he was like, I had no idea that you main deck this, because there's another guy from the team, but this was a last minute addition. I just figured I'd be playing either like a lot of Monarchs or a lot of Cosmos, which I only played 1 and 1, but overall, like, this card, when I drew into it, definitely came in handy because I was able to get over big walls that I normally wouldn't be able to get over. For hand traps, I run 2 Effect Veiler. All the way up until the night before regionals, I was running 3 Veiler, but I decided that if there were any Pendulum decks or any level 4 decks that were out there, like Abyss Dweller shuts my deck down, so I decided to take out one of the Effect Veilers and put in a Forbidden Chalice because I wasn't maining them before. I wasn't even siding them. But I didn't really get to draw this as much as I wanted to, and when I did, it kind of just sat in my hand. So I don't know if I'm going to replace this with Maxi or not, but I guess for now, Veiler's pretty good, especially against Monarchs. If you could draw into this when they summon their little guys, like, you should win. I play 1 Abyssgale of Mizuchi and 1 Abyssgale of the S.I.T.H. So Mizuchi negates a spell card and S.I.T.H. negates a trap card. And what actually happened was when I was dueling Cosmos, he activated his Cosmo Town and he was like, this is going to get destroyed. I was like, no, it's only when you activate the effect of Cosmo Town. And when I was playtesting this card this week, I found it coming in clutch a lot because it put a lot of people in some hard positions, especially Monarch players with Domain, because they were either going to activate or they were going to lose. So that was good. And then what actually came up a lot compared to when I play in locals with these cards is like not a lot of people at locals would like chain Twin Twisters or anything to these or whatever to destroy them. Like they just let it go. But I guess people were playing a lot smarter this weekend and they actually got rid of these, so a lot of the time these cards didn't even work, unfortunately, but Abyss Lead gets one of them back, so that's always good. I run 2 Instant Fusion. After Norden got hit, I decided to just drop it down to 2. Like, 2 is good. I think 2-1 ratio is good, or when when Norden was at 3, I think 2-3 ratio is good, but I never found myself in a predicament where I just sat with 2 in hand. Like, I was able to make 1 against PK Fire. I was able to draw into both of these during PK Fire. I started off with 1. It was super crazy. I went into Dweller, and then like next turn I got another one. But thank God I actually changed my deck list just a little bit the night before, just to try to adjust some things. But this card comes in clutch, like against any deck that activates in graveyard. So I play a lot of 1-ofs. So like 1 Forbidden Chalice in case they had like Majesties or Vanity's Fiend on the field. I think during the entire tournament I drew this twice, and I think I used it once against a Beatrice just so I could bait it out and get its effect gone. 1 for 1. This card is ridiculous with Neptibus. Just pitch Water Monster and Neptibus, and then you get another normal summon since this is special summon. This card's crazy. Salvage, just being able to recycle Gundy and 1 other Water Monster. Like, you're gonna set up plays, like super plays that you normally wouldn't have. And I play Regeki, of course, just blow up their field. And then 1 card I added in like a night before, or actually not a night before, but I added it in once the new ban list came out. Soul Charge. I didn't have any room for this before, but this card first turn is like ridiculous. Like, you set up an impossible field 9 times out of 10 with this card that they're not going to be able to come back from, just because like you're either going to take a lot of cards out of their hand or you're going to stop most of their plays. And for traps, I run one Abyss Sphere. I don't, since I only run one Lind, I just decided to run one Sphere. If I drew into this, I'm good. If I drew into Lind and then I drew into this, I would just activate this on my turn and then summon a big monster and try to OTK. So that was the main deck. And for the extra deck, I have one Trishula. I went into this once. It actually saved me the game. Like, I ended up winning against PK Fire in game 3 because of this card, being able to banish their Dante, and then they weren't able to come back from it. One Gungnir, I didn't even use this card, not even a single time. I actually was gonna take it out, but that's kind of dumb because Gungnir is a water monster, and if you had a Dweller on the field, like, this card's already broken. Being able to destroy cards up to the number of water monsters you send from your hand to the graveyard, up to 2. Dulorn also didn't go into him once. Like, I didn't need him. When I won, I was able to do it just fine with the main deck. Tatsunoko, crazy card. Like, being able to synchro from hand comes in clutch, especially against Cosmos. If they don't have Cosmojo, you can go into Leo, and then they can't really get over it. One Leo, like I said, like, Cosmos have a hard time getting over this, and so does Burning Abyss or PK Fire. Like, they're gonna have to waste the resources to get over this, like either skipping their battle phase and just going into main phase 2 or whatever. One Mermail Abyss Gaios. I don't think I went into this weekend. In playtesting, I went into a lot. Because I thought it would stop Cosmos, but they were able to get over it and bait this out pretty easy. So I ended up just not going into it this weekend. I found better plays around it. One Flare Metal. This is like the Gaga Cowboy for this deck. Like, if they're at 12 or 1300, which I've gotten people down to so many times, like, I'll just exceed into this, and then I'm like, okay, so you're not going to be able to destroy me with Regeki or Dark Hole. So good game. Big Eye came in clutch, like game 3. I was playing Bujins, and they had some card in their hand. It was almost like an Honest, and I was able to take their only monster from their field, and he scooped right after that, just because he wouldn't have been able to have anything to get over this. Mecha Phantom Beast Draco Sack sets up OTK, helps save your field and keep your field, something on your field, especially in the mirror match. Like, this card is clutch with the tokens. The new Hope Woven Spider Shark. This helped me win against Magispectors. Like, this deck, Mermails in itself, has a terrible matchup against Magispectors. Like, it is ridiculously bad. Magispectors and Cosmos. And with this card, just being able to summon him, detach 1, and all of their monsters lose 1,000 when you're in the battle phase. Like, with this deck, that's devastating to them because all of their monsters are really small unless they went into their extra deck. And then when it's destroyed, you can special summon a water monster. So what you do is, when this gets destroyed, like, you normally instant fusion for this, so then you'll bring back Norden, and then Norden will get his effect to bring something else back, and you'll exceed into whatever else that you want that was a level 4 or a rank 4. I play Utopia and Utopia the Lightning. I did not go into these one single time. I just have them there just in case. Like, this is a game winner. One Abyss Dweller. This card is nuts. Like, this card is super insane for water deck, especially when you use instant fusion to get Dweller out, or anything really. Anything in this deck plus into Dwellers, like, plus 500 all of your monsters, and then you're gonna shut down their graveyard. I play one Norden, banless, but this card just helps you set up your Dweller play or your rank 4 plays. And then welcome back, Thousand Eyes Restrict. There was a few situations in which I could have summoned him, but it would have been questionable about the game state after that, whether I would have won or lost. So I actually didn't get to go into him this weekend, but it was nice to have him because I knew against PK Fire he was at 300, and he went Dante Nightmare Shark, and he thought he was gonna go into F0, but he didn't go into F0. But even if he did, I could have instant fusion because I had one in hand for 1000 Eyes Restrict and took control of his F0, and then it would have been gone next turn. For the side deck, I have 2 Max C. I didn't really find myself needing to draw more. Like, I think maybe one game I wish I could have had one more draw, but I guess that's just Yu-Gi-Oh in general. Like, you can always use an extra draw. But I sided 2 Max C, 2 Flying C. It was insane because when I played the 1 PK Fire deck, I sided in Max C and Flying C, and turn 1, I drew into both of them, and that stopped his play pretty fast. Two system downs. The 1 Cosmo matchup I had, I actually did draw into this, and I drew into Iron Wall, but I was never able to get Iron Wall off, but I was able to get system down off, and it did slow him down a little bit, but he did end up winning. Wish I would have had an Iron Wall, but it is what it is. I need to practice more against the Cosmo matchup. Anti-Spell Fragrance, I didn't play a single Pendulum deck except Magispector, and I didn't even draw this. Sided 3, didn't draw 1, so this card didn't see really any play this weekend. Mask of Restrict, I did my best against the Monarch player, the guy that took first. He's probably the best Monarch player I've seen so far, but I drew, broken against him. Like, I drew Mask of Restrict, Diva, and then Iron Wall because he sided. I knew he was siding. What was it, Dimension Prison or Dimension Fissure or whatever, but he drew Twin Twister and got rid of this, and it was just super bad after that. But when I did draw it, I did see it, so that was good. And then 3 Iron Walls. Like, Cosmos is probably the hardest matchup for this deck, just because Mermails doesn't do good against floaters unless you can make Dweller and hope they don't have like back row or a Destroyer in hand. Like, super bad. But I will make another video with the 3-card combo, or just other basic combos you can get based off of these cards. Comment, rate, subscribe for a chance to win a random holo from my binder, from my collection. Anywhere from a super to a secret of any rarity and any price. I'll just put some into a pool and I'll roll a die and send it off. This is Matt with Team S.I.T.H here, signing out. Alright, so like I said, there's a couple hand loops that you could do with this deck. One takes out 3 cards from their hand, and one takes out 4 cards from your hand. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to take 4 cards out of your opponent's hand with Mermails. So all you need is 3 cards. You're going to need Deep Sea Diva, Mermail Abystius, and Mermail Bismegalo, or Mulan Glacia, or Abysslead. But you have to absolutely start out with these 2. So what you're going to do is you're going to normal summon Deep Sea Diva, and you're going to activate her effect to special summon Neptibus. Then you're going to activate Neptibus effect to pitch a Dragoons and add a Dragoons to hand. And then with Dragoons effect, you can either add Abysslead or Mulan Glacia. But for right now, we're going to add Abysslead. It doesn't really matter which one because you're going to add them both anyway. So then what you'll do is you'll reveal Teus, and for cost, you'll send Dragoons, and you'll special Teus. And then you'll get Dragoons and Teus effect. So you'll add whatever other Sea Serpent you didn't add. So if you added Abysslead, then you'll add Mulan Glacia. And then you'll add a Gundy from Teus. So then next what you'll do is you'll reveal Megalo. And you'll send Gundy and Abysslead to the graveyard. And special summon Megalo. And then Megalo effect will activate, and Gundy's effect will activate. So however you want to do it. So you could special summon Lead and then search Sphere. So you can get an extra summon on his turn during the end of his main phase too. So then, since you already have 3 in the graveyard, you're going to Synchro for 3. And you'll go into Tatsunoko. And now that you have 5 water monsters in the graveyard, you'll special summon Moulin Glacia. And you'll take 2 cards out of his hand. So then from here, what you'll do is you'll activate Abyss Lead's effect. And you'll send Abystius or Megalo to the graveyard. It doesn't really matter which one. And then what he's going to do is he's going to take another card out of his hand and send it to the graveyard. So your opponent has lost 3 cards and starting with 2. And then you'll Exceed for Draco Sack. And you'll activate his effect to create 2 tokens. And since both the tokens are level 3, you'll Synchro with Tatsunoko to make a rank 9. And you'll make Trishula. And then you'll take a 4th card out of his hand. And at this point, so unless he opens up Regeki or Dark Hole, you should basically win. Because the next turn, or at the end of his main phase, all you gotta do is flip Abyss Sphere, and then summon Lindy, go into a Megalo, and that's game. You should be able to win right here. So that's a 4-card hand loop. Really cool trick that you can learn with Mermails. Like I said, really easy to do. Pretty situational with the Diva and Teus thing. But that's all I got. This Team Sith siding out.